welcome everyone. I'm Sami Galbo, and this is Mommy is Thriving. Welcome. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Diane Lang, a certified positive psychology coach, educator, speaker, and author. For more than 25 years, Diane has helped people cultivate happiness, resiliency, and balance through her work as a counselor, professor, and now a coach and speaker. She's the author of 4 books. Yes, you heard that right, including Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life, Creating Balance and Finding Happiness, and her most recent, Worthy, which explores the roots of unworthiness and its connection to perfectionism and control. Her insights have been featured in national outlets like Family Circle, Working Mother, CBS News, and Fox and Friends. Diane specializes in positive psychology, stress management, and positive parenting, offering practical tools to help families and individuals navigating life's challenges with optimism. Diane, you've worn so many hats: professor, counselor, coach, speaker, and author. I am so excited to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for that. All right. Well, we will jump right in. So what inspired you to shift your focus more towards speaking and coaching from your background previously?
I really enjoyed being a counselor, and I've taught college for about 25 years. But somewhere about 5, 6 years ago, I realized that I wanted to go out and hit more people. And when you speak, you're able to really affect more people at once than just doing one on one counseling or coaching. And I really enjoyed just getting in front of a lot of people and giving as much information and tips and tools. I love when people can leave from a seminar or workshop and go, wow, I have 3 or 4 or 5 tools that I can put into my emotional toolbox today and start using. And I think that's really important, especially as moms. We really need to have that emotional toolbox and have those tools available for all times of the day.
Exactly. The more tools in our toolbox, the better, right, mamas? Um,
Oh, absolutely.
exactly. So, I know your first book was about moms re-entering the workforce. Is that correct? Okay.
Mhm.
So, looking back, what
Yeah.
was the biggest lesson you learned in writing it, and how has your focus kind of evolved since then?
So when I was writing that book, I was actually in that stage. I was in my early 30s, my daughter was young, and I was trying to figure out what is the best option for me. And I've had so many clients say, like, do I work full time? Do I work part time? Do I stay at home? And it's been such a hard decision for so many moms. And what I realized and what helped me writing this book and in my own life as a mom is that you have to do what's best for you, what's going to make you the best mom or the best parent. And I don't want to exclude dads because we have stay-at-home dads. Whatever makes you the best parent is what you should do. So if working full-time is going to make you a better parent, a better mom, and you're going to feel better about yourself, then that's what you should do. And I've noticed for a lot of moms and even dads, it's that balance. And that's what I loved about doing it as I was living it. I was working 3 days a week. I was able to put my college schedule of teaching that way, and also being able to spend some really valuable time with my daughter and watch her grow up. But it's so unique to everyone. But as my daughter grew up and went to junior high and high school, I was able to shift gears, and my life shifted gears. I've noticed my books, my speaking just follows where I am in life. And my latest book, Worthy, is really a lot about my childhood and a lot of the dysfunction that I went through, but also what I see with so many clients. And the root of so many issues is that unworthiness feeling, that feeling of not being good enough, whether it's at a mom or it's in your professional life with imposter syndrome, or having as a female that good girl syndrome or people pleasing. And so many of us deal with that. We don't create boundaries. We don't learn to say no. We don't have self-care. So it was really, I think, an important time for my own self-reflection, but also that's what I'm just seeing so much from my students all the way to my clients, to people I'm speaking to. So I really just wanted to get to the root of the issue for
I love
everyone.
that. I love that. You touched on so many things that are so relevant in so many of our worlds. I think the
Yeah.
thing that like struck the most chord with me is the you are one of one, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's, you're talking about in your mom life or in your career or what works for you or what works for your family. Like what I do in my world, and I say it all the time, doesn't equate to what somebody else should be doing in their world. What I do with my life and how I deal with myself and I do my self care and everything else are important to me. Like I love my job. I love coming to work every day. But just because I go into an office 5 days a week doesn't mean that works for everyone. Like I worked from home for so many years and that worked in the moment when my kids were home. I was really blessed to have that opportunity. Thank you, COVID. But, you know, I mean, right now in my life, I mean, my babies aren't home anymore. My babies are both in school. So for me, I don't love being in my house. I feel empty when I'm home because there's nobody there except for the dog, and the dog's great. Don't get me wrong. But, I really enjoy coming to my office,
Right.
talking to my peers. There are a lot of us here, so it's bouncing ideas off of other people, not having to like pick up the phone to bounce ideas off of people. It's really great in that regard for me. But that doesn't mean it works for everyone. So I totally understand what you're saying. And I feel like, especially right now with technology and everything else, and you said that sense of worthiness, right? And I feel like moms at the core, we with social media, we see this picture of perfection, and it is just that. It's a clip in time, a picture of perfection. And I always say, like I will post the good, the bad, and the ugly because that's real life. Just because you see me and my little family looking great in this picture doesn't mean 5 minutes before that we weren't over here being hot mess express. Like there is a 99.9% chance that there was some type of meltdown between one of us for some reason. So like everything's not perfect and it's okay, but it's like making sure that we feel worthy in our own skin, in our own worlds, and it's so important. But one of the things that I really wanted to dive into with you is you did discuss with me previously about moving from mental health counseling to positive psychology. Um, so
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit about that shift and what sparked that for you.
So, what I love about positive psychology, because a lot of people haven't heard of it, and if you haven't, it was coined in 1998 by Dr. Martin Seligman, who at the time was president of American Psychological Association. Today, he runs the graduate school at UPenn of positive psych. But it's really the study and the science behind optimism, resiliency, well being, happiness. And I just love that side of the field because we've done so much research and work on depression and anxiety and everything that doesn't work. But what about what does work? What about what cultivates happiness for us? And under the positive psychology umbrella falls positive education for the school systems, positive parenting, and lately, due to my age, positive aging, which has become my favorite because, well, once you hit, perimenopause and menopause, you start worrying about those things. But it really shines the light on what we can have control over and what we can do. We're always going to have bad times, right? We're always going to have tough times. Life's a roller coaster ride. But with positive psychology, we're able to see the good in a bad situation or the purpose in a painful situation. And that really helps because, again, both professionally and personally, we're going to have setbacks, we're going to have mistakes, we're going to have failures. But how you perceive them is so important. So, are you looking at them from a growth mindset as a teachable, learnable moment? Or is it just everything is horrible and I'm going to catastrophize? And we have a choice of what we're going to do. But I want people to know they have a choice. And that's what I love about positive psychology. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time or be Pollyanna and everything is great. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying that we have some control over our happiness and also in how we age and how we parent. And I loved that feeling. So I also went to graduate school, and even though I went for counseling, we really were a humanistic program, which was somewhat of the beginning of positive psych. So it was just a natural kind of fit into it. And then a few years later, I went and got certified as a positive psychology coach just to get a few more tools under my belt for positive psychology interventions that we can use both in our lives professionally, personally. And I have to say for myself, they have helped so much, both in my personal life as a mom, but also about 15 years ago, I got really sick and I had a really bad illness. I couldn't swallow for over a year. I just couldn't even swallow. And one of the tools is gratitude. And it was one of the few tools that I got from positive psychology when used in a certain way, literally shifted my life. And it was just such a powerful tool. And at the time, I was working with clients who had traumatic brain injury, spinal injury, and they've been through such traumatic things physically as well as some of them emotionally, mentally, come from the military, could have been a sport, car accident, drugs, stroke. And I watched using these positive psychology interventions with those clients, and I saw such a change. And then when I used it with myself, I was like, oh my God, it's just an add on. Counseling's great, regular life coaching is great, or business coaching. It's just another tool to add. But I just truly love it, and I've used it in my personal life, teaching it, as well as experiences from my clients, how well it works. So it's just something I really believe in. Most counselors or coaches have their specialty, whether, it's dealing with CBT or DBT or, they add in different techniques with it. For me, it's positive psychology. And I love it and have been using it for years now.
And I love that. It's really about the happiness, right? And being at the core of happiness and doing things for happiness, right? And so talk to me a little bit about how parents can model positive psychology in their homes, especially while dealing with stress and parenting burnout, or as I love to call it, the mommy burnout, right? I mean, we all talk
Mm.
about mommy burnout till we're blue in the face, but it is a real thing. So talk to me a little bit how to create those moments of gratitude and that positive psychology in order to take yourself out of those feeling like everything is on top of you type of moments.
So, going along with positive parenting or positive psychology, one thing is remembering we're always going to have stress in life. We can't live a stress free life, and we're not trying to. And having stress is okay, it's managing the stress. And also remember, we have positive stress, right? As a mom, having a baby is stressful. It's a positive stress. We're really excited and we can't wait, but it's scary. It's stressful, just like moving, starting a new job, your kids going to their first day of preschool, their first day of a new school, elementary, middle school, whatever it is, but they're positive stressors. But we really want to manage our stress levels. That's the first thing. Second thing is with positive parenting, it's really about remembering this. You are the role model. You are the mentor for your kids. So kids learn from about birth till puberty, which could be anywhere from 9, 10 years old to 13, 14. So they all go through it at their own time, and it's a few year process. But during those times, they learn through role modeling, imitation, and observation. So they're learning from you, and which makes sense because we get our belief systems between birth and about 8, 9 years old. So it's really important as a parent to think about, how am I acting? How am I behaving? What am I showing my kids? Because they're learning straight from your actions, even more than what you say. So you really want to think about, how am I speaking to my kids? What is my attitude, my tone of voice, my facial expressions, my body language? What am I saying? What's coming out? And really pay attention to that. And even things like self-care, right? Self-care is really important. But for us as Gen Xers, even some of the millennials or baby boomers, we were never taught it. I've never seen any of my aunts or parents or anybody's friends, their parents who, when we were growing up, even mentioned the word self-care, did it. You never even saw it. So we weren't, it was never given to us. It was never talked about. So we never did it. We're now thankfully passing that on to the newer generation, like my daughter's Gen Z, and I make sure that it's a priority for her. But we didn't have that. So I think about it this way: whatever you want your kids to act like or to feel like, you have to show. Just like the worthiness. I still remember this. My daughter was very young, elementary school, and I was having one of those mornings, which I'm sure we've all had, where no outfit fits. It was that time of the month. I felt bloated, unhappy, and I'm just throwing outfits on. I'm really upset and trying to rush, get her to school, me to work. And I'm in front of the mirror, and I just probably said this more than I should have, but out loud, like, oh, I look so fat. What is wrong with me? Why doesn't anything fit? And she passed by me in the back of me and she said, "If you're a fat mommy, I must be." And it literally stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, no, no, no. Like, and sat down and used it as a teachable, learnable moment, saying that, I wasn't even mindful of what I was thinking. And I didn't use those words. I'm sure I used age appropriate, which we need. But along those lines of like, no, no, that is like something I shouldn't say. And my body is okay the way it is. And I'm proud that my body can take me to work and was able to have you as my daughter. And shifting what I was saying, but it was a real mindset shift. Even though I teach it and I know it and I'm trained in it, we're still human. But it was a real wake up. And I was like, oh my God, I got to really watch what I say and how I say things. Because kids really are so smart. Even as early as 2, 3 years old, they notice the nonverbals. They notice the body language. I still remember doing research with elementary and preschool kids, and they knew their parents weren't happy together, not because either one said anything, but because they didn't kiss, they didn't hold hands, they didn't smile around each other. That's what kids notice. So they'll notice if they get off the school bus, not that you said anything about school, but you were waiting there with a big smile and your arms out. So it's really about noticing your actions, your statements, how you're saying things. That's the positive parenting, being the role model. And it's really about self reflecting on yourself. So it's a little different where, a lot of times you go to parenting classes and it's about the child and how to change the child and what the child's behaviors are. This is more about inner work for yourself. But it's good because you get to self reflect and become self aware of what you want to work on for you and make the changes for yourself, which in return will benefit your kids and your grandkids. So it's really a positive way to look at
For
it.
sure. No, I totally understand exactly what you're saying. I always say that my kids are little mirrors, right? Like anything that I'm doing, I see them and I'm like, whoa, like, okay, I need to fix that with myself because I don't want them talking that way. And noticing those little nuances because
100%.
sometimes it's not the big, huge moments, right? It's like those little nuances where you catch yourself that you're going to say something that may not be in the best interest of your kids saying it, or you don't want them, it's really that positive parenting, really being that role model. It's funny, I made a comment in front of my son about something about his teacher, and I just made a comment in passing, and he's like a little parrot, right? So then he used what I said against me in another conversation. He's 6, might I add. And I was just like, "Oh," I was like, "I didn't mean it that way and this and that." And I was like, "Oh, man." But exactly what you're saying, like and anything that we're saying or we're doing, and they see everything. Even in the moments when we don't think that they're seeing everything, they're literally seeing everything. Um, exactly.
Yeah.
And I agree with you so much on the self-care. I mean, if I am in, especially, since losing my mom 3 years ago, putting in the work, and putting in the time on myself, it has leaps and bounds advanced who I am as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, and so it's really putting in the work to make yourself a better role model and leader for your children, right? And so talk to me a little bit. Could you expand a little bit on what that means to you and how parents can actually teach self-care to their kids? I mean, yes, we all have the talks, and the mental health kind of check-ins now with our kids, which is not something we grew up doing. Let's be real, like there was no talk on how do you feel about that? Or it was more like stop
Mhm.
crying and move on, like it wasn't the
Yeah.
okay, are you done with that emotion? Have you encompassed that emotion? Do you want to talk about it? Those conversations, I mean, for me growing up, I feel like it wasn't it wasn't okay to not be okay. Whereas now it's a lot more accepted and there's plans to put in place if you're feeling not okay and things to do. So talk to me a little bit about how you teach that to children.
Yeah, I grew up with the man up, get over it, move on. And I think a lot of us did. If you were raised 70s, 80s, 90s, even the big, beginning of 2000s, you were pretty much raised like, get
Right.
over
Rub
it.
some
It didn't
dirt in
matter
it.
if you were male or female, just, right, just get over it. You're fine, walk it off. And now we know a little better, obviously, and we're doing better. But, a few things about self care. Self care is preventative, which is why it's so important. Self-care prevents the burnout, whether it's mommy or parent burnout, corporate burnout. During the pandemic, it was pandemic burnout, but or caregiver. And again, if you're taking care of kids or you're in that sandwich generation in your parents, you're a caregiver. So all of that can cause burnout. So we want to be preventative. Self-care is done for you, by you, meaning it's very individual. What self-care to me might not be for you. And it's done by you. It's not looking for other people to do it. So you have to make it part of your routine. And routines are extremely important. Both a morning and an evening routine is what we really want to think about. So morning routine sets you up for a day of success. Evening routine winds you down so you have a good night's sleep, which again will make the next day better. And routines can be part of self-care. But why we need to do self-care is, one, you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't put yourself on the priority list and you're on the bottom, or as a client literally asked me a few months ago was, am I supposed to be on the priority list? Like, she didn't even thought she belonged on it. And sometimes that's that unworthiness coming up. But when we don't put ourselves on there, and then we get to a place of burnout where we're mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually fatigued, then you're not there or able to be there for the people you love, care, and work with. So you take care of yourself so you can be the best parent, the best worker, coworker, friend, daughter, whatever it is, you do that for them. Self-care is also a great positive parenting tool because, again, you're role modeling it. So just by you taking self-care, you're teaching it to them even without the conversation, because they're seeing it, and they're seeing it repetitively. So they know it's important, and they'll see the change in you. So true self-care, just to put this out there, doesn't have to be a massage. It does not have to be a mani-pedi or going to play a game of golf. Literally, true preventative self-care is your basic needs. And what I always ask parents to do is, I call it the journal of truth. And for 1 week, I have them keep a journal of these things: sleep, diet, exercise, and water. And I say, for 1 week, I just want you to keep track of these things, just 1 week. And by the end of the week, they actually can see what's lacking in their lives. But this is so important because your basic needs are your foundation. Without them, everything else is off. And it seems like common sense, and it is, but yet we don't do it. So sleep, the normal American gets 4 to 6 hours. We're supposed to get 7 to 8. Now, of course, that's ideal, and I don't think I've gotten 7 or 8 hours in a very long time, but at least trying to get 6 so your cognitive skills are good. But is sleep a priority too? And it should be a priority. Then looking at diet, and I'm only talking diet from a mental, emotional health. I'm not a nutritionalist. I have no idea how to get a 6-pack. But for mental and emotional health, alcohol is a natural depressant. If you're feeling depressed, it's not going to help. And yes, will it put you to sleep? Yes, but it'll wake you up way quicker with a headache. You'll have to use the bathroom more often. It does not help with sleep. So being mindful. Caffeine and sugar causes a lot of us to be more anxious, to be more jittery, to be more shaky. So if you know that you're an anxious, worried person, you want to reduce it or be mindful. Or if you have something big that day that's going to happen, that's going to make you more anxious. As my college students say, that's public speaking for them. Like on those days, maybe those are the days that you reduce your caffeine and sugar. And of course, watching it in the afternoon and evening, because it can affect your sleep. And then eating a clean diet. And we're not saying all the time, because that's impossible. We're not going for perfection, as we talked about, but even 70-30. Because a clean diet where we reduce our genetically modified, our chemicals, our fast food, our junk food, all of that actually takes away the inflammation in your body, which as we get older, we worry about because of joint pain and rheumatoid arthritis or autoimmune illnesses. But it also causes inflammation in your brain, which causes brain fog. It also causes depression. So we want to be mindful of what we're eating, and we want to have our kids eating healthy from the beginning, because that sets them up. If we're always giving them sugar, they're going to be addicted to sugar by the time they hit middle school. So again, just being mindful of it. And I know I quit smoking, no problem. I quit caffeine, no problem. Sugar, chocolate is a real tough one. It's one of the hardest to actually quit. So being mindful. Water, making sure you always have enough water. We need it for energy. We need it for our cognitive skills. So making sure that you're getting that 8 glasses of water. And I've known so many parents get the afternoon blues, right? Like an hour or two after lunch, they're like, oh. And you go usually for a caffeinated beverage or like a vending machine snack. Instead, Try this. After lunch, sip 2 glasses of water. You don't have to chug it, just 2 glasses of water. Takes your body about 2 weeks to adjust, so have a bathroom nearby. But after that, you'll notice that you will have more energy in the afternoon naturally just by adding more water. Because most people do not drink enough water. And then lastly, exercise. And I was watching one of my favorite scientists the other day on a video, and I'm blanking on her name, but she said it perfectly. She said, we could put exercise in a pill form, we could probably get rid of most drugs. If you look at food and exercise as medicine, you would actually reduce your stress because every time you exercise, doesn't matter if it's walking, pickleball, swimming, yoga, whatever you like to do, you produce endorphins, which is a happy chemical that makes you feel good, which also reduces your pain, but you also lower your stress hormone cortisol. And it also, in that case, will improve your immune system because when we're constantly stressed and anxious, we lower our immune system, where we catch every cold and flu that our kids bring home from school. So you really want to be mindful of those 4 things. That is your true basic needs. That is your true self-care. When those are all set, and again, when most people do that week of noticing it, they usually realize they're lacking in 1 or 2 areas. They work on those. Then you could add the massage, you could add the mani-pedi, the dinners, whatever else you want to add that works for you. But that's your foundation, and we all need that. And by doing that, we're teaching our kids self-care instantly. They will learn it, and they will have those habits as they grow up, and then they can work from there and add on whatever makes them happier as
I love
well.
that. I love that so much. And I love that you say self-care is preventative because that's exactly what it is. If you're doing these things and making sure that you're checking off all these boxes. I mean, everybody that listens to my podcast knows that I'm always constantly talking about my to-do lists and my checklists and everything else. But for me, that's what's really important. Like I need to be able to cross things off a list. For me, if I have drink 6 cups of water on my desk and I make sure every time I take a drink of water, I check it off. Exactly. There's apps to help people. I'm a writer. Everybody knows that. Like I need paper, I need a pen, I need paper at all times. And I need to write everything down and cross it off. Like my days of exercising go on my board, like I make sure because if I am accountable for myself, my kids see that too, right? They're seeing that, oh, mommy makes sure to go to the gym 4 times a week and she writes it down and crosses it off and makes sure she does the checklist, right? And those are executive functioning skills too, right? Writing everything down, having your list, checking things off. And those are things that, yes, our kids are now, at least in South Florida, our kids are now in public school giving a planner that they have to write down their homework and make sure that they do it that way, which is huge because I love planners. I'm all about the planners, the organizers, everyone, you know,
Yeah, mine's right next to me. I'm with you. Old
exactly.
school.
Exactly. I'm like, I love the papers. It's so funny. You'll appreciate this. I actually posted on my Instagram the other day. I was like, in my story, I was like, can we go back to paper invites? Like, I would really like to go back to paper invites because if I get one more evite that I then have to like, then I'm like, okay, add to calendar. Then I take that and then I bring it to my board because I like to have it written down to then write it in I'm like, I'm over it. I like paper. I want to be able to put it up on my OneDrive and like have it there and my kids be excited, They don't get to see it when it's an Evite. Like they don't get to see the
I
invitation.
know.
I always thought it was so fun to see what invitation my friends had. Anyway, but it's those executive functioning skills, right? And it's the stuff that yes, they teach a lot of it in school, but seeing it in practice and seeing your parents do it is so much bigger, right? Like on our OneThrive board, I color code the kids, so they know their activities. They know what they need to do for the day. They have their own to-do lists, and my kids are little. They're only 4 and 6. But getting those skills now, it's all about
Mhm.
self-care is preventative and executive functioning skills. Same. It's part of self-care because if you don't have those skills and you
Yes.
don't cultivate those skills from the beginning, you're not going to have them for the rest of your life. And I promise you, learning it as a child is much better than learning it in your 30s and realizing, oh crap, I don't know how to keep my calendars with all my doctor's appointments without my mom. I promise it's way harder to do it after the fact than to grow up doing it, you know?
Because it's learned. When you do when you're young, it's a learned behavior and it sticks with you. And one of the things you brought up, which I love, is when you cross it off, whether you do it or your kids cross it off, right? Every time you accomplish a goal, doesn't matter how small it is, could just be drinking that extra glass of water, you get positive emotions. You get pride and accomplishment. And positive emotions, which is part of positive psychology, when we have a daily diet or a daily dose of positive emotions, it balances off the negative emotions, which is important. But it also, what happens, it cultivates happiness. And for positive aging, we live up to 7 years, I think it was 7 years longer, healthier, and happier just by having all these positive emotions. And you can get it just by checking it off the list. So, I mean, it's a great way to just get those positive emotions at the same time and feel all of that, really good. Like, whoop, I did it. And teaching your kids to do it, and they will feel good. But we want them to have that daily dose of positive emotions. It's so important for their happiness. So, yeah, check them off. And I'm with you, old school. There's something about writing it down. You remember it more as well. It just sticks in your brain. I know a lot of people do the phone. I do both, but I really do. I can't live without my daily planner. I'm so old school. It's just, but it works. So again, it's what works for you.
Exactly. For me, it's getting it out of here and onto a physical something, whether it's my OneDrive board or my planner at my desk, like just to take it out of my brain. Because if because the way I'm made, I have the internal checklist at all times also. So like if I have it on a piece of paper, it's way, I think it was Erica Diamond that said, every morning when you get to your desk or when you wake up in the morning, take 5 minutes and write down your to-do list for the day, for personal things, for professional things, for things with the kids, whatever you need to do from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, no matter how big or how small, to write it down. And I find there's something so impactful about that, because you're taking ownership of your day, right? You're taking ownership. You are the keeper of your happiness. Let's be real. And so me putting down all of the things I have makes it so much less overwhelming, and I'm more able to make sure that I get the things that need to be done, and numbering them. She said, once everything's down on that paper, you number it. You give yourself the priorities of the day, because once you get those priorities done, that's something off your plate. It's really a great way to eliminate that mommy burnout, because many moms feel that way. I'm not one, I'm not amiss of that. I have been the mommy burnout. I have done all of the things, but how do you help women recognize the early warning signs before it becomes too overwhelming? What tips and tricks do you have, Miss Diane?
Thank you so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to our amazing guest for sharing such honest, powerful insights. Remember, Mama, thriving doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means showing up, giving yourself grace, and taking those small steps toward a happier, more balanced life. If today's conversation spoke to you, share this episode with another mom who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find more inspiration, resources, and upcoming events at mommysthriving.com, and follow us on Instagram at mommysthriving for your daily dose of encouragement. Until next time, take a deep breath, refill that coffee, and remember, you're not just surviving, Mama, you're thriving.